In this video, I will show you how to quickly add a cookie bar to tell your readers that you are indeed tracking some information, but we're not going to make it super complex. We're just saying this site uses cookies, they can accept it, and then that cookie bar goes away. Or if they're not happy with the fact that you are tracking, then they can just browse away from your site. You've been clear with them that you are indeed using cookies. And we will be using one of Elementor Pro's features, so you need to have that premium plugin in order to follow this tutorial. So go to the back end, navigate to Template, Add New. Here we're going to add a pop-up. We're going to call this cookie bar, and then you can click to create the template. First, go to pop-ups in the top middle area. And then in the top left corner, you will see a drop-down menu. So go ahead and select bottom bar to limit our options here. So we will pick the very first one. Your options may vary, but this is basically a pre-built cookie bar that if you click on it, you will see a preview of it. Chances are you're not going to be happy with the cactus and the pink and the blue, but we will change that. I will show you how to style it to match your needs. But just go ahead and click Insert. Great. As per before, we have the navigator. If you don't see this, you can always toggle on and off the navigator here. But first, we're going to go to the settings because we want to deal with the overall settings of this cookie bar. So click on the gear icon in the bottom left corner. And here we can adjust some minor settings. So I recommend leaving it at the bottom, but if for some reason your site already has something at the bottom, you could move it to the top or put it right in the middle. But I find that the bottom is typically what is used on websites. You can toggle on or off the overlay, but when you toggle it off, it's possible people will not notice the cookie bar. So I recommend leaving the overlay on. I will show you how you can change the color shortly. And totally up to you if you want to put a close button or not, which appears, there's a little X that appeared in the top right here. And the entrance animation, I think, is fine the way it is, but you can play with those settings if needed. So let's move to the second tab called Style. And this is where we can change that cookie bar background color. So I don't like pink. I want to maybe use this as a solid black. As you can see here, the real-time preview of what the cookie bar looks like hasn't changed. So that could mean one of two things. Sometimes the interface may be a little glitchy and it doesn't appear just yet, or most probably it's because the color is set somewhere else. So I will play with my navigator later and I will adjust all of my sections and columns and I will probably find the culprit. There's probably another pink somewhere and I'll be able to change that later. And the overlay here, instead of black, maybe I want it to be gray, but you can adjust the transparency by moving this toggle here as well. And you can also control the close button. So this adjusts the position horizontally and vertically. And for example, I'm going to go with a black background. When I refresh my page, it will go black, but I want my close button to then be visible. So I'm going to put the color to be white and the background will be black. And you can make it larger if you want people to be able to easily click on that. And I'm going to hit publish. The very first time you hit publish, they will ask you when you want to use this cookie bar. So add condition, you can include it on the entire site, or you could potentially add a condition and then exclude it on one particular page. So maybe right now you do not want it on your homepage, so you could do this, or you could find the individual page here and then look for bonus offer So right now the entire site would have it except for my bonus offer. I can always come back and adjust those settings. The only reason I'm doing that right now is because it's pink and I don't want people to see it just yet. So I'm going to hit next. Then we want this cookie bar to appear on page load or on scroll. So we're going to toggle both of these on and then click next. And we want to show it up to 1 time. And it's counted after people close it. So people have to accept it, then it will no longer appear. And I'm going to toggle it on to appear on all devices. If for some reason you don't want it to appear on cell phones, you could remove mobile. And we're going to hit save and close. Okay, now I'm just going to refresh it, Control R. Now it is still pink, so that means that it is something else inside my column that is making it pink. So if I look at my section here and go to the style, click on background type, if I pick black here, now I've got a black cookie bar. So this is where the color was saved. So I'm just going to click update. Now, I don't know if you remembered, but there was a cactus here that I don't like. I don't actually need this entire column. So I'm right-clicking using my navigator and then deleting the column. I'm going to click in my column here. I want this one to be maybe a little larger. You can drag the edge of the columns to adjust it. And then I can click on the heading and I can rephrase this as you see fit. And then I will change the text color to be white. And I will also adjust the typography. That is way too big. I'm going to stick to the font I've been using everywhere. I'm going to space out my letters a little bit so it's easier to read. And I'm going to increase the text weight a little bit because we're using white font on a dark background. It's a little more difficult on the eye. So by making the font slightly bolder, I think it's more readable. I can also adjust the button itself. So right now, if you don't like the text that says got it, you can change it here. Now this is where the pop-up options. This is important. If you click on pop-up, make sure that it says close pop-up and don't show again, yes. So when people accept it, we don't want that pop-up to show up again. And you can make the button be right aligned, justified. For me, I think I will make it justified, but I will adjust some of the styling. So here under style, I don't want it to be blue. Maybe I will make it yellow like the rest of my site. I don't like the rounded corners, so I'm going to change the border radius to be 0, or maybe I can make it 5, so they're slightly rounded. The padding is fine, but I want to add margin. So padding is inside the button. I want to add margin outside of it. So within the column, the button doesn't touch the edges. So I'm going to go to advanced, and then for margin, I'm going to unlink my values and only put a value on the left and right. So as you can see here, I'm using the up arrow, and I think 20 pixels right looks fine, and I will do the same on the left. If I wanted to change the text, or I can also change the hover color for my button. So I'm going to go back to button here, style, hover color. Maybe the hover color can be a shade of gray. And the text color can be black on hover and on normal. So make sure you interact with it, see if you're happy with that. If you wanted to add a link, you could say this website uses cookies to ensure you get the best experience on our website. I can edit this text, go back to the content, and then I can say, read my privacy policy to learn more, and here I can link to the privacy policy. So if I start typing privacy, it will find that page. So if they click anywhere on here, they will be redirected to my privacy policy. I'm going to click update. And I don't like how the lines are close together, so I need to increase the line height in between those two. So if I click back on heading, this is a styling issue. So for typography, I'm going to click on the pencil, and this is the line height here. So I'm going to adjust it so it's a little easier to read. Typically 1.3 or 1.4 EM in terms of unit is what you typically use for most fonts. So I'm going to click update to save my changes. And it's very important to check your responsive devices. So if you look at tablets and then scroll down until I see it, that looks wonky. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to readjust my settings. So this particular column, the button column, I can increase the width of this column so that my button actually fits. And for the left column, I can click on my heading and I will adjust the alignment of that. I will make it left aligned, and I will also give it some padding only to the left side. So I'm going to unlink this and increase the padding on the left to move it away from the edge of the device. So I think that looks fine. Now let's have a look at mobile. Now this is really difficult to read. I want to put this first column to occupy the full width and then the button to go below it. So to do that, I click on the first column. I adjust the column width to be 100. You can use your up arrows or you can just put in the numbers. Now my right edge is now touching the edge of the device. I'm going to go under advanced, unlink my values. I'm going to put 20 pixels to the right if needed. Feel free to adjust your values so nothing touches the edges of that box. Maybe I want to increase it a little bit. I think that works. And then I will click on my column here, make the second column with the button take 100% as well. And then I will click on the button itself. And the button, if I click on content, I will make it justified. So justified occupies the full width, but I have the problem that it's also too close to the edges, so I will go to advanced. So I'm going to make 20 pixels all the way around. I think that's going to work. But because of that scroll bar, I may give it a tiny bit more on the right. So I'm going to unlink those values and give it 30 on the right. I think that's going to look fine. After you update this, I highly recommend you go and check your cookie bar by visiting your privacy policy, for example. And that cookie bar will trigger. If you see something that's not quite right, or if the font is a little too small, you can come back here, adjust the style for the typography, and then make the text a little bit bigger, but not too big. You adjust based on what it looks like on your device, and then you should be good. I'm going to click update. I'm going to double check that I did not mess up my tablet. That looks fine. And my desktop. I'm fine. If you wanted this one to be left aligned, I can also go back to the content, make that left aligned. And notice how this little icon allows me to see what it looks like on desktop. Some of the features you will be able to control per device. So this one here allows you to change the alignment per device. So perhaps on mobile you want that to be centered. You could do that. Sometimes if you don't see the little icon, that means that you do not control that per device. It is a global setting, no matter what size of screen people are using to look at your site. So I'm happy the cookie bar is set. If I want to go back and make that active on my landing page right now, I can click here, go to display conditions. And this is where I can remove the exclusion I had made. And now I can just hit next, next, save and close. We are all good to go. When I visit the site using an incognito browser, I don't want the website to know that I'm logged in and I'm the admin user for the site. I will see the cookie bar in use. Here you go. This is what it looks like. Maybe you find that it's too big. We can adjust that. But if I do got it and then I navigate to another page, that cookie bar will no longer appear. I can reload this page as many times as I need. The cookie bar will not appear until I clear my cookies, at which point it will reappear. So if you're wondering how to go back and edit that cookie bar, any page that has it visible, if you hover over Edit with Elementor, you will have the chance to edit it from that page. So you can click on pop-up here, or at any time you can go to the back end, look under your pop-ups, and then you have this cookie bar here that you can edit with Elementor. So the issue I had was I had too much space around this. So if I click on this section and then look at advanced, I can make the padding be 0, which makes it much, much smaller, but maybe that's a little too tight. So I'm going to increase the padding a little bit. I think this is fine here. So I'm just going to update that. Double check I did not mess up my tablet settings. That's still fine. And my mobile settings, that's still fine. So if you click on that little eye icon, it will give you a chance to preview that cookie bar being used. And there you go. So I think that looks much, much better now. I am all set to go. My cookie bar is fine. And if people click here, they are taken to my privacy policy where they can learn more about how I use cookies and why I use cookies. So now that we've got this all set, we've got our fine print out of the way. You will probably want a contact form, an about me page, a page where you list all of your books. So in the next series of videos, we will add those extra pages.